Welcome back to Awaken with Me, helping you become aware and empowered on all things health and wellness on your health and healing journey. Hello, welcome to Awaken with Me. Today we have guest Debbie Williams. Debbie is a licensed hair loss specialist, board certified nutritionist, educator, and author. Her education spans over 25 years of learning about hair and health. There's a true connection between your hair and your health. The fact is, underlying health problems cause most hair and scalp problems. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. First of all, welcome and thank you for joining us today. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in nutrition?
Sure. I've been in this industry, and hello, everyone. I've been in this industry for a really, really long time. It's been almost 30 years now. I actually started out as a cosmetologist, as a stylist. And
Mhm.
what was happening is when I would see a client that had hair loss, I would say, please go see your doctor or go see your dermatologist. And they would. And they'd come back and say, Debbie, I went to the doctor, I went to the dermatologist, and no one could tell me why I had this bald spot coming in my head. And I knew then, 30 years ago, that when I saw these bald spots or a client was losing hair, it was more than just a topical thing. And this is why I would always say, please go see your doctor. But over
Mhm.
years of frustration of sending clients to their doctor or their dermatologist to help determine why they were losing hair, it came up with no answers. So that meant I needed to find the answer. And so my journey led me first to trichology, which is the study of hair and scalp disorders. And trichologists, very smart. They're just as smart as a dermatologist without that dermatology degree. But for me, it wasn't enough because when I'm that person, I need to know why. I'm very analytical. I have to break everything down to where it's going to make sense. And in
Mhm.
trichology, when I would ask questions about, well, why does the person have psoriasis? How did they get it? The answers would always be like, well, we don't know. Science doesn't know that answer. And I always feel
Mhm.
that everything has a beginning and everything has an end, and there's an answer there. They're just not taking the time to look for it. So that
Mhm.
led me to say, well, I don't want to stay in this industry if you can't give me an answer that I can give my client. So that
Mhm.
led me to make me think that maybe I needed to become a medical doctor. And in my stint of going in, applying for medical school, I realized that our medical doctors are not getting to the root cause of disease and they're only treating symptoms and everything is treated with a pharmaceutical drug. I knew that's not what I wanted. And so my journey
Mhm.
then led me down the holistic and naturopathic path. And that's where I got my why. That's when everything made sense. That's when it all came together. That's when I learned the wholeness of the body and how the body talks to us and reacts and what we need to give the body. So I became a board certified nutritionist because I realized that health and wellness goes hand in hand. And nutrition is the key to everything. If a person is healthy, then there is a lesser chance of them coming down with a disease or symptoms or anything. So that's why I stayed in the hair space because when we people, men and women, lose hair, our society is covering it up with a lotion, potion, or cream. That's the wrong
Mhm.
way to handle hair loss. The
Mhm.
right way to handle hair loss is to take an internal look to see what's
Mhm.
going on with the health. And so that's why I'm now still a practicing hair loss specialist, but also a board certified nutritionist and a wellness coach.
I think it's so important to like dig deeper and ask questions. And I see a good bit of people now trying to find their own answers because they say they're going to the doctors, which is also my case, going to the doctors and not really getting to the root cause of things.
Mhm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what are some of the signs and symptoms that like people are, complaining about when they see you as a nutritionist besides, hair loss?
The signs and symptoms are fatigue, mood swings, indigestion, bloating, acne, psoriasis, eczema, joint pain, inflammation, migraine headaches, dry skin, dandruff, sleepless nights, insomnia. The list goes on and on. Brain fog. All of these things are what most people are experiencing, and of course, hair loss is a part of that. And the problem is when they're going to a doctor, your doctor is going to only address the symptoms, and they usually address the symptoms by one, taking a blood test. The problem with that is that most blood tests will only show what a real problem is once it's finally a full blown disease. But when a person is walking in there with their symptoms, a blood test may not show it as of yet because they're just symptoms. And so the next time the doctor sees you, you no longer have just a symptom, it's a chronic disease. But the thing is, prevention is the key. So when your body is talking to you, because that's all a symptom is, it's your body's way of getting your attention to tell you, hey, I'm having some problems here. That headache you're having, I'm trying to tell you. That back pain you're having, there's something going on. That hair loss, that bald spot, I'm trying to tell you something. And if we, and this, what I want to do is try to bring awareness to let people know, don't ignore the symptoms and signs. It's your body's way of communicating with you. If we can address these symptoms and signs before they become a chronic illness, we are now more in prevention and we won't have as many sick people.
I agree so much. And that was one of my problems going to the doctor because, like you mentioned, I took the blood test and they don't they don't really treat because they're expecting you to have the chronic disease so they could treat it with medication. So if you aren't at that point, it's like crazy. So what are like what would you say to someone like experiencing some of these problems,
Okay.
before they get to the point of having that chronic problem? How can they, begin to start addressing some of these?
So the symptoms that I mentioned to you, the fatigue, the mood swings, indigestion, bloating, all of those things, the majority of our illnesses are coming from an overloaded liver, a damaged gut, and kidneys that are also having issues and problems. Those three organs is where it all happens. Hippocrates said this 2,500 years ago that all disease begin in the gut. And when he said this 2,500 years ago, science didn't accept it. Only to know that now, and I think it's been in the last 5 years, that science is now saying, you know what? All disease do begin in the gut. So when we are having these symptoms and signs, the first place we should check is our gut. Our gut is everything is there in the gut. 90% of our immune system is produced in the gut. Um, 70 to 90% of our vitamins are produced in the gut. And specifically, like our B vitamins, the whole B complex system needs the support of the gut. And the B vitamin system has a lot to do with everything we do. B6 has a lot to do with our thyroid. B12 has a lot to do with practically every functionality that we have. But again, our doctors aren't looking into our gut. For the beginning source of where everything is happening. The next place is our liver. The liver is the hardest working organ in our body, and most symptoms and conditions are due to an overloaded liver. The liver also has its own built in detoxification system, but like with anything, it may break down and it has problems. The liver is also the only organ in our body that can literally repair itself. It's when it's healthy, it's the size of a football and weighs 3 pounds. But when it's not healthy, it can shrivel up to be the size of a prune. But it's the only organ in our body that once you heal it through food and nutrition, it can actually regenerate itself and eventually get back to the size of a football and be 3 pounds. And so it's the only organ, but it is actually, honestly, the most important organ in our body that can help us fight through disease and illness.
And there's like, I think a lot more people are focusing on healthier eating lately, but there's so much information out there about what healthy food looks like. Um, what are some suggestions do you have as a nutritionist, how someone might start eating healthy?
Well, the first step for starting to eat healthy is to stop your intake of sugar. Sugar is a hidden ingredient in many, many, many foods. Even when someone is trying to eat healthy, most manufacturers have so much hidden sugar in there that you don't even know that it's there. So when we are starting our healthy journey, it's a long process. And most people fail at it because they take this journey the same way they do a diet. Most diets fail because when you walk into it, maybe the first week you're excited about it. The second week, it's like, I can't do this. And then you never get to the third week. But where we need to start is looking at the foods we eat. Like, so for one, cutting back on sugar, cutting back on alcohols, cutting back on gluten. Those three things alone will change your life if you cut back on those. So that's where a person should start. The next place after that, they need to honestly get a gut health test. You need to look into your gut. Our microbiome is where everything happens. The microbiome are trillions of microorganisms that live or coexist in our intestinal system, well, in our whole digestive system, from our mouth all the way to our anus. We have the microbiome, which are these microorganisms. And we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria, but they coexist. They live together harmoniously. And when we are out of our good bacteria, which many of us are, because if you've ever had taken an antibiotic in your life, antibiotics, not only does it kill the infection, but it also kills off all of your good bacteria. Well, we need that good bacteria to live because honestly, and science will tell you this, we have more bacteria cells in our body than we have human cells. So honestly, we're more bacteria than human cells. And so we need the good bacteria and we need the bad bacteria to work together. And if we've ever had antibiotics, most of our good bacteria is gone, which means our body is flourishing with bad bacteria. Bad bacteria at this point is going to help more toxins come in. They're going to let all the bad guys come into our bodies. And that's when we start experiencing some of the symptoms that I mentioned to you. So cutting back on sugars, cutting back on gluten, cutting back on alcohols, getting a gut health test is the main ways that we can start to recover.
Developing better habits and self care routines has been such an important part of my healing journey. Check out my website, awakentoyourpassion.com, for access to some of the resources I've found useful that might also be helpful for you. So, how might someone get that test? Because a lot of times you go to the doctors, they don't order tests unless they see something that requires it.
Well,
So,
nowadays people can do a lot of testing at home. There's a lot of companies, a lot of laboratories that's doing, and I'm not sure if it really kind of took off since we were all stuck in our home for 2 years, and couldn't really get to a doctor. So all of these laboratories are now coming out with the at-home kits where you can order a kit for your thyroid, your liver, your kidney, your gut. You can order these kits at home, and most of the
mhm.
tests will either be from saliva or it may be a fecal test that they give you all the instructions. You send it back to the lab, and the lab will send you back in about a couple of weeks your results based off of whatever test you wanted to take. And this is not trying to say don't go to the doctor, but what this
Mhm.
does is this alarms you, or this prepares you with the evidence of what's going on with you. So once you get your gut health test, and now you're ready to go see a doctor, you're armed with evidence like, hey doc, I just took a gut health test and this is what's going on with my gut. It looks like I have leaky gut syndrome. Or I just took a test with my thyroid and here's what the test showed me. So now we're not waiting for the doctor to tell us what the problem is. We're telling the doctor this is the problem. But to be honest with you, food is medicine. So I feel that the better way that we can heal ourselves is through self-care, through those home kits, and then changing the way we eat, that's what's called a lifestyle change. Just changing the way you eat can change your life. If you think about medicine, medicine is a pharmaceutical drug, and every pharmaceutical drug starts out from a plant. But unfortunately, they take that plant, they pull all the goodness out of that plant, and now they add in synthetics and they add in so many things so that they can make millions and millions of this product that normally is only treating symptoms. But if even a pharmaceutical company is starting out with a plant, then if we want to heal ourselves, we can start out with a plant too. Go and,
Mhm.
get real foods, raw foods, and start eating those to help our bodies heal.
If you had to share one thing that you think is the most important thing, what would that be?
There are so many important things. I need to break it down a little more. The important thing of what?
Of I guess just getting healthy overall, or
Because
how
there's
to
so much.
help oneself. Yeah.
So, if you're wanting to start a healthy journey, you have to make a commitment to yourself first
Mhm.
that you're going to change how you eat. Because trust me, all of us who are having health issues, it stems from our diet. Now, I'll say this in a sense that it'll make sense. You can say, well, I eat good. I'm a vegan or a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. And I do all this and that. But here's the problem. Even if you eat good, doesn't mean that your body is absorbing the nutrients that it needs. So our bodies need nutrients every day. And when I say nutrients, I'm talking about vitamins and minerals. And I'm talking more about minerals than vitamins because we live in a world where there's vitamins everywhere. There's the over the counter vitamins you can buy. Everything is talking about vitamins, but what most people don't understand is that a vitamin cannot do its job if it doesn't have a mineral to sustain it. So minerals are more important than vitamins, and vitamins are important. But again, if you're taking all this vitamin C and vitamin D and all these other different vitamins, but your minerals are deficient, then the vitamins you're taking won't have a purpose. So we have to start with our gut, because with our gut, that's where all our nutrients are being absorbed. So if the gut is having problems, no matter how good you eat, your body's not absorbing that magnesium. Your body's not absorbing that potassium, that iron, that copper, that zinc, that calcium. Your body won't, no matter what you do. You'll have athletes, and we've all know someone who we saw them eat good. They worked out. They did that. Their life was so great. But then you heard they had a heart attack, or you heard
Mhm.
they just dropped dead, and you'd go, I don't understand. They were so healthy. And everyone can relate to somebody who knows somebody who went through something like that. So these healthy people who looked and appeared to be healthy on the outside was not healthy on the inside, even though they may have felt that they were. And the bottom
Mhm.
line is the body was not absorbing nutrients. There were probably what we call malabsorption issues, which the body is not absorbing the nutrients that they're getting. There were nutrient deficiencies, which means the body didn't have enough of that potassium and that iron, that calcium. And our bodies tell us, because when we start experiencing these pains, pain is the way of telling our body, I'm a little imbalanced in some minerals over here. So, for an example, a headache. Usually, a headache, when your body is giving you that pain or that discomfort, your body's telling you it needs potassium. Usually,
Mhm.
that's the case. So, when you get a headache, or anybody that's hearing this, the next time you get a headache, instead of running to the aspirin or the Tylenol or the Advil, go eat an avocado. Go eat a banana. They are high in potassium. And most likely, within 30 minutes of time, your headache will subside. And so the body is telling us that it needs certain things. In my practice, I do something called a hair mineral analysis. In this analysis, I take samples of hair. So your hair tells the story of your life. And I mean that in every sense of the way. Your hair tells your story of your life. Every mineral that your body needs is actually in a sample of hair. And you may say, well, why is that? Well, our body dumps all of its minerals in the hair. So if you took some samples of your hair and sent it to a specific lab, the lab results will come back to show how many minerals you're deficient in, how many minerals you're doing good in, how many minerals you are in excess in. Excess means you have too much of that mineral in your body. If you have too much of a mineral, that's a malabsorption issue. That means the body's not absorbing it. The body doesn't know where to put it, so it's dumping it in the hair. That's one of the places it may dump this excess minerals. Now, once
Mhm.
we see where you're having these excesses or deficiencies, now it pinpoints what's going on in the body. And if we're having a deficiency, then that means the body's not getting enough of, let's say, zinc. So if it shows your body is deficient of zinc, how do we fix that? Well, because your body can't produce zinc, or your body can't produce any of these minerals, a lifestyle change, changing what you eat, eating more foods rich in zinc will give your body what it needs. But again, if you're dealing with gut issues, which I'd say 80% of us are, then even if you start eating foods with zinc, your body may not take it well. So we have to, again, address the gut issue. because now we know what's going on, and addressing our gut issue. And that's another test that I do in my practice. Once we address the gut issues, now we know what microbiomes or what microorganisms you don't have enough of, or you do have too much of. This is how we build a new nutritional plan for you. So this is how nutrition comes into this. These two tests allow us to see where you are nutritionally imbalanced. And the only recovery for a nutrition imbalance is to eat right, to change what you eat, specific foods. This company that I use, I don't know how many companies may do the same thing that they do, but when you send them your gut health test, in the results, they will also tell you what foods you need to incorporate more of this. They will also tell you what foods you need to stop eating, because these certain foods are actually making it more a problem for your microbiome. And they'll let you eating more of these foods will increase this bacteria. Eating less of this food will decrease this bacteria. And at the end of the day, we need more good. We need a better microbiome. We need more good microbiota, and we need good bacteria. So it's going to tell us what foods our body, not everybody's body, everyone is different. The test is going to show what foods you specifically need to increase your microbiota. And that's the start of it. And then the hair mineral analysis will tell us where you're having these deficiencies. And now, I will build you out a meal plan of all the foods rich in zinc that you need. All the foods you're rich in copper, whatever it is that you need, your hair test, your samples will show me what your body is lacking that's not showing up on a blood test.
I thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important because even for myself, I wasn't really looking at food on an individual level, and I realized that it's so important.
Oh, it absolutely is. The other thing that most people don't know, and I try to share, and this year I'm making it more of a goal to bring out the importance of our liver and our kidneys. A nephrologist, which is a kidney specialist, will tell you that kidney disease is one of the hardest diseases to detect. But our kidneys is where, when our kidneys are having problems, it basically is going to be like a domino effect. It could either be the gut having problems that leads to a domino effect of the liver and kidneys, or it could be that the liver is having problems that's going to lead to a domino effect of the gut and the kidneys, or it could be the kidneys having problems that's going to lead to a domino effect. But the point I'm saying is those three organs is where it all begins. If we are looking at our liver, and the best way to fix the liver is to do a liver cleanse. And there's a lot of people that say, oh, do this liver detox and do a liver cleanse. But a liver cleanse, there's certain things that the body needs to help the liver. So the liver has about 500 jobs that it has to do for you every single day. I feel like it's hard. It works just as hard as our heart. Because if the liver is having problems, which I call it, I compare everything to an engine in a car. You have a car and you have an engine, and then it's not only the engine that gets the car running. There's a lot of other components that helps that car to run. But if the engine doesn't run right, then all the other components won't be able to run right either in that car. Well, the liver is that engine, because when the liver starts to get sluggish, meaning it has a lot of toxins built up in it because it wasn't able to remove these toxins, or the liver has a lot of different things that's there, the liver is going to make every organ and gland have a problem. And then in return, you're going to have a lot of fatigue. One of the other biggest things that people don't know is that when we have weight gain and we have the hardest time to lose weight, we need to look into the liver, because the liver is actually our main fat burning organ. And if we can't burn fat, then most people, they start dieting, they start doing all these different things, intermittent fasting, but no one is looking at the liver as being the reason why you can't keep the weight off or even lose the weight. It is because it is sluggish. It has toxins. It has a toxin buildup in it. It is overloaded with so much. And when that happens, the body can't react in a good way. So even in your issue, when you were saying that you've had some issues, you may need to address maybe like a 14-day liver cleanse. Start with the liver. I have programs for that too. And when we start with our liver, just I build out meal plans that help you flush the liver without all this extensive, like, I don't believe in drinking fluids for 7 days straight because your body is going to miss out on important nutrients. But if you're eating specific foods that help to detox the liver, foods that's rich in glutathione, all these different things that help to remove free radicals from the body. If we're looking at whether you have a lot of toxins like aluminum, lead, mercury, all these different things will back up your liver. But in this 14-day cleanse, we're eating foods that help the body to push the liver into a more active mode. Another way I always try to explain how the liver works is I'll talk about our kitchen sink. Your kitchen sink once in a while gets backed up. And when the kitchen sink gets backed up, what do most of us do? Before we call an expensive plumber, we're going to go buy some liquid plumber or some kind of liquid solution and pour it down the drain to see if it can get the clog out. Mm-hmm. Well, the liver is that. The liver is that kitchen sink because it does pick up all the garbage. And all we need to do is flush that liver specifically with certain types of things. It's like our liquid plumber for the liver. Then all we need to do is if we can flush our liver out, then many problems that we had once it gets flushed out is gone. That fatigue is gone. That insomnia is gone. That inflammation is gone. The bloating is gone. The acne, all those different things could go just because we just flushed our liver.
Yeah, thank you so much. So tell our listeners how they can find you.
They can find me. My website is Ask Debbie About Hair, or they can even find it through Ask Debbie About Hair and Health. There you will find I have a lot of articles, a lot of information. I talk about the liver. I have different programs that they would be interested in. And at the end of the day, how does this all relate to hair? It does, because hair is one of the fastest growing cells in our body. However, if our liver is having issues, if our gut is having issues, if our kidney is having issues, then the long-term effect of it are symptoms with your skin and symptoms with your hair. So instead of trying to address hair loss with a topical solution, we need to start addressing skin and hair with internal solutions, healthy, natural internal solutions. They can also, I just want to say, my Instagram is the same, Ask Debbie About Hair, my TikTok, Ask Debbie About Hair, my YouTube channel, Ask Debbie About Hair, my Facebook. So everything you can find me, just Google Ask Debbie About Hair or type in Debbie Williams and all my information should come up.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Debbie, for being on Awaken With Me and sharing all the information with our listeners.
You're very welcome. I appreciate being here with you today. I hope this is some information. I always tell everybody, take the information that I share with you and do your own research, and you will see the facts. It's going to blow you away. Our learning outcome today is that illnesses show up in different ways, like hair loss or some of those quote unquote normal ones like bloating, constipation, eczema. And it's so important to listen to those signs before they become too drastic. The liver, the kidneys, and the gut are especially important in this process. Thanks for joining us on today's podcast. If you haven't yet done so, hit the subscribe button for new content every 2 weeks. And be sure to visit my website, awakentoyourpassion.com, for more resources. Until next time, take care.